Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Thursday, January 9th, 2020. Wow, the week is flying by, folks. So let's take a look at our space weather, shall we? Got a little bit to talk about. Solar wind speed sitting at 440 even kilometers per second with a density of 6.3. Now, we were expecting some minor coronal hole disturbances, so this is part of that solar wind increase. As you see, the KP indices are at a 2 right now, but we did reach a 4. So this is the second time in less than 7 days that we've seen KPs almost break storm levels, but not quite. And we are at a solar minimum, so these solar wind outbursts are going to cause less geomagnetic storms. Now, I was talking about this a couple days ago, where I've noticed in 2016 through 2017, we had a lot of G3s and G4s and G2s. And then 2018, they started to flare down a little bit, maybe a little bit of G3s, G2s, and mainly G1s. And then 2019, well, we had a couple G2s, and the rest were all G1s. And now we're seeing here in 2020 that these solar winds are not quite causing the geomagnetic activity that we've seen in the past year. So there's another trend that shows you the sun's activity is also decreasing in that department. Now you're saying, Jake, I see a few bright spots on the sun. It's been in a deep minimum conditions for a while. What's going on here? Well, this is just part of the cycle. Solar cycle 24 and 25 do overlap before we finally see nothing but 25 sunspots. Now, I will say this, in the southern region, that sunspot has decayed. The one that is turning towards Earth is not labeled a sunspot, but there's one in the western limb as it's turning away from Earth. This one they're saying is emerging as a sunspot, and it is part of solar cycle 25. Now, they have not officially named it, but SPACEWEATHER.com is saying today we have 0 days of spotless days in a row. So I don't know if it's a typo because they're not naming it. This thing's turning away. If it is a sunspot, it's only going to be on our sites. It's only going to be Earth facing for just another several hours. So interesting to see what they put down here in the next few hours. But again, guys, this is still solar minimum type stuff. I mean, we saw spots last year that didn't turn into sunspots, that they were just active bright regions. And if they don't have the characteristics of a sunspot, then that's it. They're just active regions. So this isn't that totally uncommon. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that our coronal hole situation, we've had a little bit of a break, but now we're starting to see a little bit more activity. And if you look to the northern part of our star, we have a coronal hole that is forming right before our eyes. And NOAA thinks we could have some effects from this on January 14th through the 15th. So we'll have to watch that. That could possibly produce a G1 storm, as this is probably one of the bigger coronal holes that we've seen in a while. And these little small ones are producing solar wind spikes in the 450s to 500 kilometers per second. So interesting enough, we are going to see some action from our sun, but in a way that comes from solar minimum conditions. I know, a little confusing, but I just want to clear that up because I know there's some folks out there, and this is a hard subject for people to say, okay, you're right, it's a sunspots. Forget about everything that we've heard about on the news and in schools. I get that. But I'm here to kind of communicate in layman's terms to folks that you will see periods of time with bright regions on the sun, but when you still see as many coronal holes that we're seeing right now and how they're starting to form, and we've seen them more frequently here, when you still see that, a coronal hole only forms because of how weak the corona is. So if the corona wasn't weak, then we wouldn't see any coronal holes developing. And that's another good point for these sunspots in bright regions. This plasma is underneath the corona that causes these sunspots. And the weaker the corona is, the easier the sun is able to display these bright active regions. Not quite yet sunspots, but they're there. So a stronger corona, obviously we wouldn't be seeing these sunspots at all at this point because they're so small. I mean, the one we had, AR 2755, was sunspot number 11. Would that have showed up in a strong corona as a sunspot? Maybe not. So there's all kinds of factors to take in here, guys. It's just like the climate. Things are in layers. And it's not a one-line answer. You get the question all the time, when's it going to get cold in in UK and grand solar minimum? Where do you predict this? Where do you predict that? Guys, we are walking into an unknown charted territory. No man alive has ever seen the sun do what it's doing right now. And so it's an unknown. All we can do is follow the historic empirical evidence and continue to monitor, observe, and report on this. And, I think this channel does a pretty good job at seeking out information from people like Starman, David Birch, great source of information. Lee Wheelbarger, who really taught us a lot about the sun and this topic. And then you got people like our mods. They have great information. We have people that are agriculture. Matt is one of our agriculture mods. So is Jesse. So you put everything together, farmers, scientists, and people who are just experts on the topic. And that's how we come up with this channel. And I do the best I can to kind of explain this in layman's terms, because I understand we're going against an uphill battle with this topic. But I think the science is alarmingly jumping out at everyone right now, and it's hard for people who are opposed to this. It's hard for them to face the facts because, look, no one likes to be proven wrong. I get that, but again, so I just wanted to give a quick little breakdown here on what's going on with the sun. I know you get a lot of questions. Oh, there's sunspots and it's over and the sun's coming back alive. Well, we will see that, but we still have some time left before that happens. So again, it's as good a guess as anyone's, but all we do here is monitor and report, and I'm trying to do the best I can to explain on why we see certain events. But I can tell you right now, just looking at this every single day like I do, to me, I feel like we're still in deep minimum conditions at this point, especially since these solar winds are piercing less G1 storms. All right, that's enough of my babble. Let's go check out some weather real quick overseas for our friends here in the UK and Ireland area. That's the United States. Let's go here. Which play a little messy right now. A lot more activity up here. Scotland's getting some snow showers. A little bit of a dry break right here. Ireland, good job so far. We're dry, but we got a little system spinning up here that's pushing all this moisture out as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at if we have any flooding going on here in the UK as well. Any flood alerts going once, going twice? No. So there's your flood alert system right now. Not too shabby. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for the United Kingdom and areas surrounding it. Today, rain, heavy at times with snow on the northern hills, clearing eastwards with coastal gales easing. Further rain affecting southern England and Wales later this afternoon. Mostly dry and sunny across northern Scotland, but it's going to be cold in the north. Tonight, rain clearing southeastern parts, then most areas dry with clearing skies. Winds also will be easing, turning frosty in the north with the odd fog patch. I love reading from different parts of the world and their forecasting. Just some of the wording, I have to admit. Turning frosty in the north with the odd fog patch. I guess it's a UK thing. I don't know. Maybe there's something about odd fog patch. I've never heard that term before. So somebody please enlighten me in the chat or the comment section. Friday, dry for most of the day, sunny and light winds. Rain arriving in the northwest later, accompanied by strong winds, perhaps even severe gales on the coasts and the hills. So, again, 2 flood warnings, 50% flood alerts, or 50 flood alerts right now, and 12 that are no longer in force from yesterday. So, lots of flood alerts out in this area, and the saturation is going to continue to build up, not just there, but also here in the U.S. as well. And I'll get to that just in a second. But first, I want to report really quickly a rare 6.3 earthquake hits Chukotskiy, Russia, in the Far East. Now, this was a 6.3. It was a very, what they're saying, this is a remote area. So not a lot of people were in the area. 6.2 miles was the depth on this. Actually, after that, this quake was preceded by a much shallower earthquake of a weaker earthquake of 4.0. So again, 6.3 that happened at 8:38 UTC time, January 9th, and this is considered to be rare in this area. So we have seen quite a few of 6.3s, folks. I know it seems like last year this time we were dealing with a lot of volcano activity and earthquakes, and once again, same time of the year, it just seems like we're getting a little bit more of an uptick in the seismic activity. Also, you can link that with low solar activity, with solar winds and everything like that, KP indices. So we're looking at more earthquakes, more volcano eruptions, little ones here and there, but still definitely noticing the uptick. And I thought this was newsworthy to pass along. Another rare earthquake. Also just found out, now I know it's not a big deal, but here in the Adirondacks, there's been 2 earthquakes here in the last week. 1.3, no big deal, but still kind of weird for me to live near where earthquakes, I didn't feel it. Obviously, it was pretty weak, so not a big deal, but still noticing earthquakes in areas that usually don't get earthquakes, or just complete uptick right now. All right, let's check out the U.S. side of things as far as the weather goes today, and that looks like a nice, easygoing map. Well, enjoy that little nice, easygoing for now, folks, because we are going to see some crazy weather going on this weekend, and let's go ahead and take a look at some of our weather conditions around the nation. This is what we're looking at wind chill-wise. If you live in the northern part of the United States, Northeast, Northern Plains, Great Lakes, Northwest, you're experiencing some pretty cold wind chills right now. -4 in upstate New York, -8 in northern Maine. A lot of people are in the single digits with wind chill. And guys, it's been rarely average out here. I mean, we're talking mid-30s, lower 40s, and to walk out into that sudden cold air. I mean, last night it dropped down to 26 degrees. And what a difference, because it hasn't been that cold up here. I mean, we're talking 30s, 40s possibly. So I can only imagine walking out the door today on how this is going to feel. And let's check out that frost freeze line here. And again, the south, this is why we're going to have cold air rushing in from the north, the Gulf moisture coming in from the south with the warmth. And that is going to be the main ingredients for severe weather outbreak on Friday night, and even on Saturday as well. Take a look at highs for today. Across the south, it still feels like spring, but most of us in the northeast, the northwest, and the northern plains, it's going to feel like winter. And if you live in the Ohio Valley or Indiana, anywhere in the Midwest, you're looking at temperatures quite comfortable for January 9th. But that's going to change. Tonight's lows, well, again, the same areas that are good during the day are going to be okay at night. The Northeast and the Northern Plains are going to really see that cold air tonight. And let's take a look and see what our 3-day outlook is looking like at this point. NOAA thinks that it's going to get active today. Showers across the Midwest and the South. Freezing rain in Michigan and Wisconsin, Minnesota. Snow across the West, the Northwest, and the California coast with rain and freezing rain. Freezing rain arriving in central New York at some point today as well. And then tomorrow, things really ramp up. Severe weather across the south. Tomorrow it's going to be more Texas, Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, and even southern Missouri. Just above that severe front line, you're going to have an icing event that's going to be taking place in parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Michigan, plus the Northeast will also see freezing rain and then just showers and thunderstorms in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Northwest, lots of snow. And then, boy, you're going to love this one here. Day 3, Saturday. Yeah, more of the same. If you live in the middle part of the country, like Matt does, you're not going to see a bit of weather. But if you live on the East Coast, rain, anywhere from rain, snow, ice, tornadoes, you name it. Flooding is going to be an issue of concern, as well as the watch boxes are already kind of going up for that, and I'll show you guys that here in a little bit. Let's go ahead. Actually, before we go into that, let's go ahead and show you guys what NOAA is thinking right now on the flooding situation, because we're getting ready to get some heavy rain here in the next couple of days. And the reason why I want to show this is because not only are we going to get some heavy rain in the next several days, but we're also going to see this pattern over the next several weeks. So basically where these areas are in the green, that's the flood watches. This is where we have to watch for the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. This is going to be a very active area. As I showed you guys last night on the live show, you know, I don't know. I think the models are, every time we go over the models, they're totally different. Almost every time we go on the air, these things are way different. This morning I was going over this, and I get it. This is the 6Z. That's still holding true, by the way. This storm right here over the weekend. I mean, that's a lot of rain. And then that's a lot of ice right behind it on the cold end side of this. This low pressure system is still far too north to really do much damage for the Northeast unless you live in Maine and New Hampshire. You're going to see a lot more snow and ice than people in New York and Vermont and Massachusetts are going to see. So right now, that low pressure system being that far north is going to really just keep this mainly a rain event. And the temperatures this weekend, I can tell you in New York, 49, 52, 49, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So definitely all rain here for the state of most of upstate New York and everywhere else. So nothing to worry about with any heavy snowfall, except if you live in parts of northern Maine, you could see a significant amount of winter weather. Northwest, Oregon, Washington, still getting pounded with an atmospheric river, in my opinion. The way this moisture is coming in, it's coming in hot and heavy. Plenty of it to go around. As you guys can see on Monday, lots of snow, and then Tuesday, another round affecting the Northwest again. This time it's mainly Washington and Oregon, only in the Northern California. And that system trucks across the United States. And then by Wednesday, that's right, Thursday, here's another storm system knocking on the door and affecting the Northwest. Some light activity across the East Coast, but mainly in the South. Now, this area right here, I want you guys to pay attention to, because right now GFS is not showing this. But there could be another potential for a system to develop. It just depends on how much more ripe conditions will be. But that right there, if that's all we get from that particular system, that's a good day. But here's where things start to change a little bit. Northwest, more snow and rain. And then we have another system moving across the U.S. This could be a significant storm for much of us. Right now, the GFS is saying snow across Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, icing across parts of northern Mississippi and Alabama as well. And then the Northeast, well, you get a proper dosing of snow here. But look at the weather out in the Northwest. I mean, constant rain, constant snow for the last 8 to 9 days now, and it's continuing. That system moves across country. This is where we get really cold down in the South. Some freezing rain and snow possible for Texas. But most of the South will see rain and freezing rain develop across the South. This storm goes up the coast and possibly could be one of our first big nor'easters of the year. But this was a system, folks. I was telling you guys we need some pressure to be moved out of the way to help get this pattern of heavy rains to stop. And right now, this model is showing the difference of what we showed last night. And a huge difference, because we were seeing patterns that were coming over here several times. This area right here. So this week we know for sure. We'll just have to continue to monitor the GFS. And guys, all I can say is be prepared, be aware, and just be ready for anything at this point. Part of a grand solar minimum is the unpredictability of the weather patterns. And I can tell you right now, there is a lot of people who have failed on their forecast this year. I will give credit to Joe Bastardi, also Starman, and Judah Cohen. Those three people I have heard consistently talk about where we could really start seeing some wild weather come mid-January, cold temperatures as well. And it's happening. So kudos to those three out there, and we appreciate the hard work those three do as well. All right, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you for tuning in this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another Grand Solar Minimum update. And also Friday night, please check out Lee Wheelbarger, and I will be discussing Grand Solar Minimum. I'm sure we'll talk more about what we were talking about this morning. And if you guys, again, we'll be live with that show Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, guys, have a great day, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.